Hi, welcome to Business Week with Oak Valley College. I'm here with John Burgess. My name is Eric Blum. I'm the president of Oak Valley College. I want to welcome you here. And today we're going to talk to John a little bit about marketing in his business and what the future looks like. So, John, welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about Red Fusion Media.
So Red Fusion Media came out of a traditional marketing company with Ron Burgess, my dad, and we got to the point in the late 1990s where we needed to do websites. And so we kind of took his traditional consulting business, applied the new digital web piece to it, and we formed Red Fusion Media in about 1999. Our goal was really just to build some websites. And we took that idea really hyper-locally here in Redlands and said, we want to be the biggest webmaster in Redlands. And the goal was that. And we started off with hundreds of competitors, and I used to have a file box of all these competitors on paper. And those people lost, and we won. And so we kind of grew up through the internet age. About 2007, before the crash, we had probably 300 clients, and we probably built about 500 websites in that period. And as that change happened, we changed a little bit too. As I finished my MBA and we had some different people on our team, we really went back towards a traditional marketing company that was just heavy digital. So today, I'd say we are both strategy and execution of digital marketing, with some just traditional marketing mixed in there. And as we evolve, we'll probably go back to really a traditional marketing model where digital just happens to be the tool that we're using.
Mm-hmm. So I know, and I want to get to this real quick, is you run Inland Empire US, which is what's kind of emerged out of your work with Red Fusion Media. So tell us what that is.
Yeah, so after years of doing consulting, I found myself a little less passionate about consulting and more about where's our brick building that we built for Red Fusion. And we had started Redlands Web way back in the beginning, and that kind of morphed into inlandempire.us.
So Redlands Web was a website that
was a
community website or something?
It was our net to catch all the Redlands people. We thought, we'll be the Google of Redlands. Google exists. So we were the Google of Redlands for a window of a year or two, and then Google came and made that look not so important. And as we moved forward, we thought, well, let's get a bigger region. So we've had inlandempire.us for 15 years. We just didn't really push it. And so it became our own owned media that we could take our clients' data and stories and activities and kind of use it as a way to get it into the mainstream. And as it evolved, and I got a little dispassionate about consulting, I said, well, I'd like to build this into a real model. And so what we've done with that is we've taken everything we've learned in the last 15, 20 years about digital marketing and said, well, if we were to do it perfect, how would we do it? So inlandempire.us has really turned into that push where we're saying we're going to be a publishing company, we're going to be a partnered company, we're going to curate other people's content, and we're going to try to bring content to a one-to-one relationship with our consumers. And so as we built it, we really cared more about relationships and about who we can help than we've cared about being a media company. Mm-hmm. And so that change is kind of actively happening where we're actively kind of looking at the new model and how do we use social media, how do we use customized databases, how do we use inbound marketing tactics, how do we use data to drive where we're going. And I will just wake up, we'll look at what the data says, and I'll kind of shift us a little bit more towards where the data says. So we're really using it as an active marketing tool for us as Red Fusion, but for the actual model to say, how do we market this process of being a good marketer, and how does that all come together? And with that whole idea, I've changed my mindset a little bit every single month, and I keep changing the website a little bit more toward the wins of marketing maybe. So, and the last thing I've kind of done is I've stopped saying US, and I've started to say us. And so I'm really thinking it's inlandempire.us because I'm trying to partner with people, and I don't create the content. So it's really the consumer, I guess in our area, it's the locality, the stakeholders in the area giving me content, and I'm helping them curate it, helping them get their message out and driving more traffic back to them. So it's really, hopefully, a collaborative effort in the end, not really owned by me or Red Fusion, but kind of an outpost that is different than Google or Facebook and more like a magazine.
Okay, cool. So, and I know we already spoke about this, but this is a loaded question. So, where is social media now, and is this social media? I mean, what does this mean? Or you're an aggregator kind of of content, right? And so the notion is being a magazine, you're collecting these stories, collecting it. Is there something in the tangible world that we can look at to say this is like this, or this is just a totally new world, and what does that look like?
Yeah and no. I keep looking for the model of the copy, and there's a couple websites out there that I like that I'm copying some of their stuff, Mashable being one of them.
Oh, okay, sure.
They countered traditional marketing and media outlets and said, we're going to do it this way. I think there's a couple of pieces. One is I think people are social. And so the closer we get to people with our interactions, the more social we are as a company or organization or marketing plan. But the action of containing that knowledge through a magazine format or an online format is really trying to leverage and help those people understand, help those people get their message out that not only are they experts in some field or doing something positively, but they're also having to kind of tell that in a social message. And so with the changing news cycles, I kind of put ourselves in a place where I'm hopefully touching people enough through tweeting and Facebook and emails and thanking them and just saying hi, that they're looking at the product as, well, this is an effort that has some value to it. And so it's kind of it almost harkens back to the old school business approach where you as the owner of the business were out front and you'd shake everybody's hand. And you'd know everybody in the neighborhood and you'd be able to customize your stuff, your selection of products to that customer base because you knew them personally. You went to church with them or you ran into them at coffee every day. And I think that as corporations scale to really big sizes, I think we need to continue to go back to the personal relationship. And so I really don't like social media from the media perspective. It doesn't do very well for marketing anything. It doesn't do very well for winning the market because the social media as a whole expands faster than you can even get your word out. And at the same time, it does keep the connections very warm if you have real social connections. So it's kind of this interesting place where social media should have media maybe taken off and it's just being social today and then posting to Facebook just
so building community.
Yeah. I need to show my grandma a picture of the kids or, all of those relationships. And it's no different than picking up the phone or shaking a hand. And so the closer we think of social media as a way to shake hands in a genuine manner, I think the better it will work. At the same time, everybody's automating this to a point where it's becoming another unknown territory with Amazon and Amazon Echo and all these audio pieces, maybe listening to us and trying to help us out socially. It's an interesting new world. But you can always go back to the handshake and say, well, am I shaking hands correctly? Am I treating people correctly? And I'm not putting coupons on my Facebook account. I'm not, trying to sell you a new multi-level marketing campaign.
Right. So along those lines, and there's a geography to this, right? I mean, at least what you're doing is kind of geographically bound in some way.
Well, and I think all things, all businesses, all organizations need to niche themselves into a couple of facts. They are physically limited to geography in most cases. They're experts about something, and they're in categories where they want those kinds of followers or customers. And so I think all businesses need to kind of admit they're in a category of a few different things. And locality is a huge one because Google Maps, they want to drive people to your business physically through a map, but they also want to kind of contain knowledge in mapping software and mapping, So locality is a big thing. With my marketing, for Inland Empire, obviously that's a big piece, and I'm using that to my advantage. But for all my little companies I work with, or I'm trying to market, I'm always saying, well, you're not really competing with Harvard if you're here in the Inland Empire. You're competing with 20 schools, not a million. And within that segment, you're competing different, types of content, different degrees, different, careers, and so you end up getting down to a little competitive niche of 3 or 4 or 5 that you should be thinking I'm a competitor or would like their business. And that's the way we try to look at it. And geography is just one of those things that typically is coming up more often than it used to, say, 5 or 10 years ago. We used to think we could win on Google nationally, and we could for a little while. And Google doesn't want national people to be winning at local and local people to win at national. So it's kind of been segmented.
Yeah. So do you... what do you see like for next year? What's the biggest thing, especially like, let's take specifically Inland Empire, what you're posting or what you're doing. What do you see as the trend for 2018 if you could, and we'll play this back at the end of next year and see if you were right.
Well, I think that the trend is going to be worrying about budgets in a traditional manner, and that for years we kind of thought the internet and social media was free. I mean, we literally thought we could get,
and everybody could just get people to like them on Facebook, and then they'd have it, and you still hear that today. It's just crazy, you know.
Why is nobody liking my Facebook page?
Or why do a million people all of a sudden like this page in 15 minutes? Right?
Yeah, and 5 years ago it was, I want to be number one on Google for this keyword. It's like, well, you might deserve to be there, and you might not, and it used to be you could get there. Today you can't, and
so you have to pay for everything.
You have to pay for everything, but you also have to think of the things that are quasi-free, like social media is quasi-free, or SEO and search engine optimization can kind of be free. But you really have to allocate budgets to those efforts, because you're having to tie together your larger content pieces like press releases or stories or white papers, and then feed those into these social networks or into these SEO competitive networks in a way that sometimes it's still free, but there's man hours behind it. Other times you have to pay to play. And I have a lot of evidence that the best social stuff, the best viral stuff was always actually pushed with dollars. And when you see a viral commercial go, it usually had a big ton of money to get that viralness going before it got viral. And so even
so you have to create enough critical mass even before you present that, and that costs money. I mean, there's really almost, unless obviously you hear these lucky things.
There's plenty of lucky ideas, but
usually they have an infrastructure they've already built for that.
But it is like a flip of a coin. But now you're kind of flipping one coin against millions of people flipping that same coin, and you're kind of like, who's the 1 in a million that gets viral today?
Yeah.
And it doesn't last, and it shoots up. And then the real part that I worry about is there really an interaction? Were they just looking at a branded piece, or were they really thinking, I needed that company to help me with this problem or service or a product? And so I look at what are the real engagements. And so that's where I think 2018 is going to get to. You're going to start having budgets worrying about real engagements. That's going to be a customer engagement or a real prospect engagement, and you're going to stop worrying about all the surfers, people that saw the site. You're not going to worry about the views of your post. You're going to worry about how many clicks came out of it. And so 2018 for us is going to be how many relationships can we build with traditional marketing models that are using digital models. How can we leverage the perceived free stuff like Facebook and Twitter to kind of maybe get some of our messages out? But we're always looking back to the core piece of, did we find a prospect or a customer, and did we build a relationship? So my goals for most of my clients are not to get more views on websites, but to get more email lists growing. And are we communicating?
Very old school.
Yeah, it's coming back to an old school. And maybe even for some of our clients to send a letter in the mail. People open mail nowadays because they don't get as much. But how do we build these relationships in 2018? And that's what the big guys are doing. That's what Google's doing with our phones and Google. Facebook's doing it with the way they change Facebook. Amazon's obviously doing it because they want to sell you the next product.
Right.
I had heard the other day that when you're suggested something at the end of your cart in Amazon, 33% of the people on Amazon buy it. So they're getting so good at this little interest level,
algorithms of what else you would be interested in.
Us humans are getting dumb. And so in some cases, I think that we need to put the humanness back in and shake hands. It's always going back to the relationship. Can we have good relationships with our clients and our product users and the general public and all of that? So that's the biggest change, and it's going to hurt some people, because I don't think a lot of the people having to compete with Amazon are very social or very relationship based, and they're really price based. So the price based kind of competitive markets are going to be squeezed by Amazon, because Amazon gives us a better personal experience than mom and pops who have been trying to keep up, or even medium sized businesses. So the next few years we'll see that those who didn't keep the relationship and honor it will really struggle.
So what is a one thing that you could suggest for 2018 for a business in terms of what they should do that they're probably not thinking of doing, or conversely, you can take it either way, or maybe both ways, is to say, what should they stop doing? So
stop thinking you're going to get Facebook likes. I don't think
or that they're worth anything.
Yeah, and really start thinking about who am I talking to, and how is the relationship going to be used. And so when we're doing a Facebook kind of live event, we're hoping to have conversations with our friends in Facebook, not the millions of people or billions of people on Facebook. And so the biggest thing is for companies to start looking back towards relationships, and that becomes hard because they usually don't have databases set up to kind of keep track of it all. And so the biggest key for businesses is to figure out how to get your content matched up with your relationships. And there's a lot of new tools out there that are scary for a lot of businesses to say, I'm going to put my data online, or I'm going to use some new tools in-house. But how does the architecture of that then help companies build those relationships in traditional manners? Are we calling our customers? Are we emailing? Are we keeping them up to date with newsletters and things? And so we come from a traditional conservative marketing approach that we'd like to keep our current customer before we get a new one. So how do we really keep them? And
even expand the opportunity to sell more things to them.
Exactly. Right? And I think in the coming years, not expand it and say, we are really good at one piece, and so we're just going to treat you really well with one piece. And when we are getting off our regular pieces into, say, piece 4 or 5, we might just recommend you go somewhere else because we like you as a company for 1 and 2. Right. The data will drive it there. So I think the biggest thing in the next few years is understanding from a corporate budgeting point of view, an IT point of view, that you have to have systems that record people in a way that you can use. And for some of our traditional clients, that's just so tough. And they do not like to break the systems. They have sales teams that don't like to change the way that they work. And so to put them in these new boxes, sometimes is an educational curve and it's an internal problem, but at the same time, your benefits generally are much better when you kind of position your company in a way that anybody in your company can speak as if they are the relationship. And that's really what it comes down to, that you're able to...
So everybody is essentially a sales agent in some respects, but sales in a very different way is it's passive sales.
Yeah.
It's to say, you need to be knowledgeable about the company, you need to be knowledgeable about the programs and products, and certainly positive about them.
Yeah. So good data lets your salespeople do a better job of targeting, but good data lets your customer service people become salespeople, because now they have this really soft, passive data to look at the screen and go, wow, we've done some good stuff with them. Let's treat this person really nice. Let's give them a deal right now. I have the power to give them a deal to keep them as a customer. So I'm looking at, in terms of employable people, you're looking at people who can write and communicate, and people that are more customer-centric in the sense of a customer service agent, not so much a salesperson.
Right.
Because I think you can mold a customer service person into a salesperson better than you can ever take a salesperson back down into a customer sense. So in that vein, I've had a lot of our clients look at social media from a customer service point of view. Mm-hmm. They should be on social media for customers, not for profits, not for getting the word out in terms of a branding approach. And the sales guys definitely don't need to be the one out on Facebook and Twitter and all these things. It should be the customer service people talking about how great things are happening or helping a person. Right. Some of our best social media experiments have always been about a problem. Mm-hmm. It's identified with internally and maybe even by the other viewers of that, and it kind of fixes itself. And so nothing is better when Facebook has a problem pop up and your own customers defend you. And that's really where that is like, that's the
ultimate place to use social media, right? Your
real brand recognition and reputation is being defended on a social platform, because it really legitimately is of enough value to defend. And so when everybody's like, well, I really like this spot, and something bad can happen, but I want to go to their defense and say, hey, I've always had great customer service, just call them, they'll fix it. And then people go, well, I call them and they fixed it, and then they repost. I was a little mad. So I think we are really moving much more towards that hands-on approach, which for those coming out of college now, the millennial group, they're very hands-on and they're very able to do that. It's just how we built a structure that they can kind of flourish in. The older businesses have not. And so they're sitting there going, we need to do some technology updates. We have no idea what to do. So there's kind of the owners of the company are having this dialogue with the younger executors of those plans, and that's the biggest challenge kind of next few years.
Right.
It's the baby boomers leaving the workforce for the millennials to take over the workforce,
Right.
and the Gen Xers like me just sit there going, I'm stuck between the both.
Well, or you're the linchpin that makes both work. Function
Maybe,
well together.
maybe I'll get 5 years of that, and then they'll get rid of me too, and then we'll have to deal with their next group.
Yeah, I don't think so. And the one thing that I've noticed is that, despite the fact that I forget if it was Edison or somebody else way back when, who said that, we'd have a 3-hour work week by 1984. I seem to recall that. And we're not there yet.
No. Well, the Google guys recently came out and said that they thought it should be a 20-hour work week.
20-hour.
And they're probably a little more on, they have more data.
Right. Yeah. Cool.
So we might get to that, but then what would we do with the other 20 hours? We do more social media.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, though, the notion is that there's always something that's going to grab our attention, and there always is a workforce right now, conceivably, that needs that. We create new jobs. Just the fact that we have fewer coal miners doesn't mean that we have jobs that don't need to take place. There's more jobs out there.
A lot more solar jobs right now.
Yeah, something like that. And so obviously they're not the same kind of pay that a mine worker used to make, but you're not getting killed.
No.
Either. So there's some trade-offs.
You don't have the black lung either.
Yeah. So anyways, I think there's some downsides to technologies, there's some upsides, and that's what's so neat about this merging or this emergence of social media and where it's going is the fact that it's no longer free. I keep wondering, what's next? What is next out there?
The scary part is kind of they're gonna just put a chip in our head and we'll be able to social media all the time right through our brain.
Right.
We'll be like having conversations with 6 people while watching a football game while cooking dinner, and your grandma can call in still to your brain, and you can talk to grandma even though she's not on social media. So
well, at least we can finally get the most out of our brains.
That's right. We gotta use the other 90% of them.
Well, thank you very much, John. I appreciate you taking time with us. Next week, we'll have Gene Valdez. He'll talk to us a little bit about business finance and banking. He's a longtime banker and a great friend of ours. So look forward to tuning in next Thursday if you're available. And if not, we'll be here and we'll post this. And again, what we say every week is share this with some friends. Give us some ideas for topics and interviewees that we can bring in here. We're excited to get your ideas and let us know how it goes. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.